Carson Wentz starting again.
Who do they play this week too?
They play. Oh, it's a big
'cause
game
like
for
a
them.
big
I think
one.
it's the Browns.
Yeah.
It's the Browns. Big game for them. Big game for the Packers because the
Yeah.
Packers need the Commanders to lose one of these last two.
I don't love the decision personally, but I mean, in terms of talent, Wentz is a more talented player. It's just, can he execute it? Does he have protection? I know when he was out there at the beginning of the season, they weren't as healthy in terms of his protection. The team wasn't as good. They weren't playing as consistent, whereas down the stretch, we can see they've been playing a lot more inspired, and some of that was because of Heinicke, and that was even why they made the decision in the first place. But this is the dilemma when you make that type of move. How long do you allow it to go if it's not playing as well as it needs to be in terms of Heinicke? And now you're in a scenario where you're turning back to the guy that you essentially moved on from and even criticized publicly at one time in terms of Ron Rivera, when he was like, something quarterback. So with it, I don't like it. I'm hoping that Wentz can make the best of it right now. But yeah, I ain't feeling too optimistic about that scenario.
I think the reason they did it, I think Rivera saw in that 49ers game, you're capped with Heinicke.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to beat the 49ers team.
Yeah.
Even though Heinicke was playing halfway decent throughout, and then he just collapsed. There was a really bad fumble, and then he threw a pick right to the defender.
It's just, you're asking him to be an overachiever. He has to overachieve in those scenarios, whereas a guy like Wentz on paper should be able to do whatever versus whoever is out there.
And that's probably what he was thinking, is like, hey, Wentz, if you could just take care of the ball, maybe we could use some of your upside and catapult this team back to. I remember like the first game or two, like Washington actually looked good. Carson Wentz actually looked good, and
everybody was like, "Oh man, they got on something. This is it right here." I even had Jahan Dotson balling on my fantasy team, and then it got crazy. I had to let him go. Yeah,
so that's what I'm wondering if that's what this is about. It's just like, hey man, I don't know if we got a chance against like the Eagles or 49ers, some of the more top NFC teams with a Heinicke. We're just gonna be capped. Who knows? Maybe we could go on some magical run with Carson Wentz just because of his upside and his talent.
Yeah.
Because we know it's there. It's just Wentz just can't screw over himself and the team.
Because, bro, like,
he's been doing that a lot ever since that ACL injury from the Eagles.
I was say whether it was in Indy, like, he do that.
Yeah, and he actually played decent with Indy. Like, if you look at his stats last year, I think he almost had 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 picks. But there's a reason they got rid of him, because he just collapsed in some of the worst ways possible.
Yeah.
They're running the game, and it's just like, this is the one mistake you can't make, and then he ended up making it.
I would agree.
That's why he eventually kind of got benched with Washington. Heinicke took over, gave him the spark. But I guess now, the Thanos saying, you couldn't live in your own failure. So you're back to me.